Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Hermitage Strange Case Files on Nintendo Switch. Oh, wait, what's the default selection? Is it continue? It is not, it is new game. One more time. Oh, it's finally starting. By now, Scarlet has probably met the students she established contact with. This could lead to a world of trouble afterwards, but hey, drastic times, drastic measures. Her hidden earpiece hasn't been discovered yet. Looks like everything's going according to plan for now. Alright, here we go. What should I ask him? Ask about current state of the art club, ask about changes in the club over the last 6 months. Come to think of it, some club members have graduated since last year, and you have a new representative now, right? That's right. I hear there's been a lot going on. Really? There were a lot of rumors going around concerning the change of representative, but things have been quiet since then. We're lucky to have found a new representative so quickly. We're going to take our chance this year and try to win for real this time. That's good to hear. Were any additional measures taken? I'm sure there's lots of pressure on your school to make sure things run smoothly this time. I don't know if I'd really describe them as measures. What are you referring to? I'm talking about the membership requirements, admission criteria, you know? Although I'm not sure if that was what you wanted to know. Sure, tell me more. Well, it's not a big thing, really. The school's been trying to keep the clubs active for a long time now. Starting this semester, many clubs no longer have assessment tests as a requirement to join up. As long as a student wants to participate, the clubs are obliged to accept their application. Everyone was really busy at the beginning of the year, and when the time came, this term's recruitment period was already over, meaning our art club wasn't really affected by the change. There's only one exception, a transfer student who was accepted immediately after handing in her application. The teachers are probably patting themselves on the back for finding such a good role model. Hey, watch it! What's wrong with the transfer student? Sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. The whole situation just had everyone a little anxious and uncomfortable at the start of the term. Sounds like you don't have it easy. Such a decision should have been a community vote, but maybe I'm just being idealistic. It's respectable that you still think that way even after dealing with the schools in our city for such a long time. Well, the longer you're in business, the more you just want things to go smoothly. That would save me trips like this in the future. If I'd had a choice, I would have stayed at home on my couch watching TV. The girls smile at Scarlet. Her casual tone seems to resonate with them. Current state of the art club. So, how many events do you organize per week? There are 2 activity sessions per week, both of them in the afternoon. However, our studios are open and free to use until school ends. If someone happens to have a free period, they can just drop by and use the classroom, as long as they clean up after themselves. Oh, so much freedom. Seems like Mr. Tran really trusts you. Scarlet sneaks in the teacher's name to further establish her credibility. She seems to be on the right track. That being said, students rarely take advantage of that. After all, everyone has classes in the morning, and in the afternoon, there are only a few. Not too many students stick around. So how are things going? You probably started preparing for this year's competition by now? Oh, we're taking things a little slow. It's pretty relaxed. We're all students after all. The teacher doesn't pressure us too much. We're just practicing our skills, the usual stuff. The subject matter is all up to us too. We can draw whatever we want. The students' shallow words are most likely supposed to reinforce the image of a relaxed, free atmosphere within the art club. However, one look at the excessive amount of canvas and turpentine lying around is enough to see through their charade. I know it seems strange for someone in my position to say this, but even with all of last year's problems, our association still has high hopes for your school this year. It's okay, you're just doing your job, right? The teacher doesn't take the initiative when it comes to taking care of us, but whenever we seek advice, he's always there. Don't worry, we'll win for sure this year. The confidence seems fake. If anything, they both seem indifferent when it comes to the competition. The students' words sound like those of a winner, even though there is a clear lack of motivation. Scarlet tries not to let these distractions get to her. Well then, I'm looking forward to it. About the club members. Sorry, I have to ask this, but how are the relationships within the club? How is everyone getting along? After all, with everything that happened last semester, it must be tough, right? We're all doing really well. It didn't affect us. Oh? The girl's eyes were blinking rapidly, unconsciously wandering off to the corner of the classroom. Scarlet doesn't know exactly what they're hiding, but their statement just now sounded insincere. The other girl picks up the conversation again. Yeah, we even hold small competitions around here and there for fun. She points to a corner of the studio where a number of paintings are displayed. They show how high the level of talent is around here. Many different styles and techniques were applied to these paintings, and they can easily keep up with the works of many grown-up artists today. Wow, that's impressive. Scarlet's attention is focused on one painting in particular. Even among the many other impressive pieces, this one stands out. The whole picture is filled with clouds of flame that burn towards the top of the frame. The scorched earth conveys a feeling of gloom, but a single flower can be seen. Although it looks completely out of place, its radiant beauty overshadows everything else. The eye is automatically drawn to it. The earth spreads out like an ocean beneath the flower. The ink on the paper wasn't exactly applied neatly, but the delicate composition of it all turns into a breathtaking piece of art. Just looking at the painting, Scarlet actually feels like she's on top of a mountain, overlooking the sprawling landscape below her. There's so much to take in. The word Blossoms is written in a corner of the canvas. She immediately recognizes the name, having seen it in dozens of documents already. It's the painting that won last year's competition, the root of all the controversy. We didn't know until after the competition was over that the president had been preparing this painting last year. That caught Scarlet's attention. The two of them wouldn't continue to refer to the former student representative as the president in front of an association member, not after everything that happened. Plus, the store manager mentioned that the current representative, Eloise, is the main cause of Cecile's concern. This is the first time I'm seeing it, to be honest. Is this the level of quality students your age deliver nowadays? It's something really special. To tell you the truth, we were startled when we first saw it. It's hard to fathom. I'd never even heard of this painting technique before. I'm not really an expert, but this painting is on a professional level, right? Oh, what's this? The bottom left corner of the painting has ripped. Although it's been glued back together, it's still noticeable if you pay close enough attention. Oh, that. There was an accident when we were hanging it up. We mended it, so just be careful not to touch it. So, that's what happened. That's too bad. Your new representative must be quite popular, right? It's an important position, after all. Yes. She's totally awesome. I admire her so much. Absolutely. Think about it. Talent like that is really rare, isn't it? Their lies couldn't be any more obvious. They're trying to cover something up. The girl with the short hair hesitates every word. Scarlet bites her tongue. She can't be sure whether the two really respect their president, but the use of superlatives like that make it obvious they don't mean what they're saying. It's not heartfelt. The president did distance herself while she was preparing the painting, and that was a little scary, to be honest. But it's much better now. She's just overly focused sometimes. Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't want anyone disturbing me while I'm doing my homework either. What an embarrassing performance. It's painfully clear how uncomfortable they are talking about this topic. People who live in their own little world can often seem distant like that. That's probably why many geniuses are so withdrawn. I know people like that too. You shouldn't take it all too seriously. Scarlet takes some mental notes and the conversation comes to an end. That's about Lily's whereabouts. How's your classmate Lily? Have you heard from her? It should be fairly obvious, but Lily's entry in the competition was a pretty dark moment in Phoenix High's history. What is their relationship to the former president like? Scarlet isn't sure if it's a touchy subject for the two students. Let's try to push for some answers. Sometimes you can't hold back. High risk, high reward. The girls exchange a strange look. Now, I don't mean anything by it, but it seems as if you're a little reluctant to talk about her. I just want to understand the situation a little better. That way I can judge if the association's way of handling your school was appropriate. We really don't know much about the specific circumstances. She stopped coming to the club during midterms last semester. I think she said something about preparing for her exams at home. I remember that. That was probably her only option after the whole fiasco. After being exposed as a cheat, she couldn't just stay in the club as if nothing had happened. Her family probably came up with some excuse to switch to homeschooling. You think so? Her family has a lot of influence, so I'm sure of it. If we ever asked for something like that, the school would refuse it in a heartbeat. The long-haired student unconsciously touches her neck, which is a typical nervous gesture when people lie. The other student seems more sincere, never shying away from eye contact with Scarlet. So, that's what happened. Looks like Lily has left the school, but things aren't as simple as these two are making them out to be. Scarlet takes mental notes of what was said. Scarlet asks the students some irrelevant questions as well, to seem more believable. She's so good at playing her role that for a second she actually believes she's working for the association and fully embraces her fake identity. The two students don't suspect a thing, and after this long conversation, they part ways. A familiar voice issues from the small phone that she's carrying in her pocket. Done. I think that's it for today. Well done. Looks like you still got it. I hadn't expected that. Well, unlike a certain someone, I actually leave the house every once in a while, meaning I'm perfectly capable of handling social interactions. Anyway, did you at least get something interesting out of it after having me do all this work? Oh yes, most definitely. It's all quite interesting. Strange, even. You mean their attitude towards the former student representative? It's more than that. Lily leaving the school raises questions in itself. Do you think those two can be trusted? Yes, their eyes didn't lie. It's obvious they were hiding something, but the things they did talk about were true. Scarlet sounds hesitant. What's bothering you so much? What do you think is wrong? It's the timing of when Lily left the school. We don't really know much about the specific circumstances. She stopped coming to the club during midterms last semester. I think she said something about preparing for her exams at home. I tried to recall the information Cecile provided. Every February, the Yukai Cup is the only thing anybody talks about at Phoenix High. We always score well in the competition. The Yukai Cup starts at the beginning of the semester. Everyone's in full-on working mode and wants to win. Do you remember the dates on the document from the Department of Education? They were all somewhere between March and April. Scarlet replies quickly, which shows that she's keeping up. Generally, midterm exams are conducted about 2 months after the start of the school year, from the end of April to the beginning of May. And all requests were reviewed over a month ago, which suggests that they'd received a reply by then. Leaving aside the fact that all the disciplinary sanctions from the Young Artists Association were eventually withdrawn, even if they did produce any results, there should have been a response before midterm. Copying somebody else's work only to suddenly drop everything a month later seems strange. Things aren't as simple as they seem. Yeah, something seems foul here. School seems less and less like the image it is trying to uphold. Unrealistic expectations and a yearning for prestige and recognition, but Phoenix High School isn't all it's hyped up to be. We've stumbled upon something big, that's for sure, but shouldn't we focus on the whole thing with Cecile first? Of course, which is why we needed all this information. Cecile has been struggling with that vision of Eloise. At this point, we probably know more about it all than she does. That's one of the unique advantages of being an outsider. We already know that Cecile has visions of past events when she's under the influence of incense, meaning Eloise lying on the ground in a pool of blood is something that has already happened. Cecile wants to know the circumstances of this incident, and now we found something that may be connected to Eloise. Further details are coming to light, and everything seems to be connected somehow. This should help us find out whatever tragedy it was that befell Eloise. At least we have something to work with now. We got lucky. It's hard to do something if you don't believe in it, but in this case, we know something's wrong. From what we know so far, the art competition was the big incident that kicked off everything. The two student representatives must have had a lot of contact in the past. Who knows, maybe there's something else we can dig up. Speaking of which, I have an idea. Oh? One of the two students I met today seems to be using the same ID online all the time. Could turn to snoop around a little. Sounds like something we can work with. I'm afraid that's it for today. I really have to get back to the office, or the boss will have my head. I'll send you the ID later. I need you to find a way out of this school first. A little while back, blogs and online diaries were very popular. That's changed quite rapidly ever since social media sites started spreading like wildfire. If those students really are hiding something, they might slip up and leave some kind of trail online. Social media. For me, it's a good thing. I can do huge chunks of my work without leaving the confines of my cozy abode. There are no computers on the ground floor, and I'm not really in a hurry. Kneading my neck and shoulders, which are stiff from holding my phone, I resume the organization of my books. Oh, I've worked on it for a while, apparently. Even with the current situation and Cecile's problems, the world keeps on turning relentlessly. Tales from the Vienna woods can be heard faintly from across the street. The guy who owns the tobacco and liquor store seems to be a man of music taste. I really assumed Cecile would have stopped by the store by now, but then again, Phoenix High School is quite far away. Still nothing. Better send her a message tonight to find out what's going on, just to be on the safe side. Other than that, it's a typical Wednesday, although I've only seen a few people around. A mother and son, 2 middle-aged men, and a young guy with a healthy interest in the French Revolution. Is today actually a public holiday or something? The whole concept has been long lost to me. In any case, the day is coming to an end, and there isn't much point in staying open. I should call it a day. After letting out a big yawn, I grab a few books and begin my nightly routine. Sorry to bother you. Someone's standing in the doorway. I freeze. It's the girl who was taking pictures of the store from the other side of the street last night. I've never been the type to believe in coincidences. There is complete silence. She doesn't waste time and walks straight to the desk. She's well-mannered, keeping her feet from making too much noise on the quartz floor. Her demeanor is calm, but she gives off a mysterious aura. It's as if even the light can only go around her. It's not her clothes. She meticulously dressed in a slightly faded but very tidy school uniform. Nor is it because of her appearance. She has good posture and maintains a polite, albeit small, smile. Something about her immediately grabs my attention. Welcome. Most of the books here are ready to buy. We don't have any stocks in the back, so just bring the ones you're interested in straight to the counter. She walks up to me while I'm speaking. She confidently looks me in the eye, her long hair flowing behind her like a curtain. Hello, I'm looking for a book. Oh, yes, of course. What kind of book are you looking for? Is it okay if I only have the title? What's the name of the book? The Trail of the Missing Fish. I have a hard time playing it cool and break out into a cold sweat. I've heard you carry many books that are quite unique and cannot be found anywhere else. That's true. It's a shame, really. Your timing is unfortunate. It was acquired by someone else just recently. The girl smiles calmly. I see. This mystery is easy enough to solve. She moves a little closer, calmly, as if to signal that everything is under control. Your time must be precious, so please allow me to ask you directly. Did a girl named Cecile get it? I try to keep my expression as neutral as possible. It wouldn't be wise to lie. That she mentioned Cecile's name must mean that she knows something. I don't know how much she knows and what Cecile told her. Cecile still hasn't called. I should play it safe. Since she knows about Cecile's visit to the store and about the book she borrowed, this girl must be close to her in some way. Her faded Phoenix High School uniform makes it apparent that she's not a new student there. She must know something about Cecile's situation, or she wouldn't have chosen this moment to show up. But this isn't the time for me to lay out all my cards on the table. Well, as you can see, this place is rather small and a little messy. Still, Hermitage values each and every one of its customers. I deliberately put on a more serious face. I'm afraid I can't discuss my customers' private matters, especially with a guest whose name I don't know. The girl looks surprised, as if she wasn't prepared for such a direct statement. I'm Eloise, Cecile's friend. I'm also the president of the art club she's in. I'm sorry, I was so focused on this one thing that I completely forgot to introduce myself. My apologies. She bows slightly and hands me her student card. She's doing this to remove any doubts about her identity. Very polite, very thoughtful. A response I wouldn't have expected from a student. A bit too much, maybe. Eloise, is it? What an introduction. Might as well bait her into answering some questions. I'd like to find out more about her. Cecile mentions her so frequently that my interest is piqued. Not only that, but she plays an important role in Cecile's hallucinations and is somehow connected to it all. Cecile is somewhat of a regular customer here, and I sometimes talk about school with her. I'm sorry for being so suspicious. I just take privacy very seriously. I didn't mean to be rude. Eloise looks relieved and the tension fades away. No worries. I think valuing privacy is a respectful trait. To answer your question, yes, she did purchase the Trail of the Missing Fish here. I didn't pay it a second thought because she has always shown interest in folklore. Why is that book so special to you? Is there something wrong? The problem isn't the book itself. Eloise looks troubled. Actually, something's wrong with Cecile. We used to meet after class a lot, practice a little here and there. Hard practice? Our school is very strict and the standards there are very high. She loves to paint and I wouldn't want her to miss any opportunities. I support her. That's very noble of you. You must take your position seriously. In the beginning, Cecile was always so enthusiastic about practice. Actually, she often approached me to plan meetings in advance. But lately, it's almost as if she's been hiding from me. I asked her if there was something on her mind, something weighing her down, but she wouldn't answer me. She bows her head and seems lost. Our school's public image is a very prestigious one, so much that many of our students are very proud. Cecile transferred to the school just recently. I'm worried that something or someone might be bothering her and she's too afraid to say it. Eloise puts on one of her cuffs and gives me an apprehensive look. So, I'm not proud of it, but I've been tracing her steps after school to see if she needed help with anything. That's a very fancy way of saying you're stalking someone. I'm not sure how well you guys know each other, but don't you think following someone around after school is a bit extreme? I know it's wrong, but I didn't know what else to do. Please don't tell Cecile about this. Please. She bows her head again. This time, this really seems to be getting to her. I keep talking in a calm and friendly manner. Don't worry about that. So what's your plan? Are you going to go door to door to find out where she's been? Actually, this store is basically the only place she ever visits. That's what made me think that maybe you know something. Now Eloise is the one trying to ask questions. Well, how should I put this? I put up my cigarette and take a deep breath. The two girls really do seem quite close. This is my golden opportunity to find out more and finally get the answers I've been looking for. I should slip in a certain role. When two people don't really know much about each other, it's easy to pretend to be someone else. I'm confident that there's a lot I can find out if I play this right. There should be a way without her having to say anything. Oh, what's this mean? Need to find the right moment? I need to find the right moment to take a closer look at Eloise. When it comes to analyzing behavior patterns, choosing the right approach is essential. I mean, I'll get a better chance than this, so I mustn't miss it. Still, asking out of the blue wouldn't be smart. I need to plan this carefully. Since you've been so honest with me, I think I can trust you. Cecile had her reasons for coming to me. I get up, ready to share my secrets with Eloise. Truth be told, before taking over this bookstore, I spent most of my life in the field of clinical psychotherapy. Oh? Unfortunately, I no longer have my license. When I was young, I had a dispute with some of the older gentlemen in the association. They made use of their connections and influence to kick me out and stop me from practicing. I wave my hand a little, a typical let's not dwell on the past gesture. It's not even a complete lie, more like half a lie. I used to work in the field of social sciences. But how did Cecile... One of my friends probably couldn't keep his mouth shut. Word gets around, Cecile hears it mentioned somewhere, and that's how these things happen. Try and put yourself in her shoes. It's not something you tell everyone. That would just make people more worried. That should sound believable enough. Eloise gives me an understanding nod. I breathe a sigh of relief, look around, and deliberately lean forward a little. I'm not going to tell anyone about what you've been doing, but I'd appreciate it if, in exchange, you could keep my story a secret too. In any case, this is about Cecile's well-being, so we're on the same team. Eloise doesn't reply, but lets her eyes wander around the store instead. She takes in the messy piles of books at the edge of the shelves, and the old posters I hung up on the wall. I'd say the first floor perfectly captures the wayward scholar ambience, and being gloomy isn't exactly something I have to pretend to be. Okay, I promise. Eloise nods in acknowledgement of our little deal. I decide to strike the iron while it's hot. Well, that's good. Anyway, you've already found your way here. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? So far, I've only heard Cecile's point of view, so your help would be much appreciated. Please ask. If there's any way I can help, I will do it. Hearing Cecile's name seems to make her particularly energetic. I take out my notebook and quickly flip to the page with the most handwriting scribbled on it to keep up appearances. I have a lot of questions, actually. Let's go through one by one. What should I ask? Ask about Cecile's activities at school. Cecile told me a few things. You're a little older than her, correct? That's right. I'm in my senior year now. I see. And you probably don't know much about how Cecile is doing in her class and what the atmosphere is like there. That's right, but I still know some things. Her class is a so-called preparation class that aims to attract students by lowering the tuition fee, but has very high expectations and demands rapid progression. I've heard that the head teacher there is very strict. And the teacher doesn't say anything against someone from a preparation class wanting to join one of the extracurricular clubs as well. Eloise smiles bitterly. Actually, people from these preparation classes make up the bulk of the club members. I don't follow. It's to project strength, to make a statement. We can pursue our hobbies even though learning is stressful. I assume you're familiar with that sentiment. Many students even sign up for a club on paper, but you never see them around in person. However, the guidelines aren't that clear, and with Cecile being a transfer student, maybe the teacher just doesn't care. So, while her classmates were stressed out and learning at home, Cecile was one of the few who actually participated in club activities. I sigh and shake my head. That explains why many of them don't get along with Cecile. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but I think many of them have severe issues. It's hard to imagine the pressure they're under, but it's the reason why many of them have a really short fuse. That's about Cecile's current situation within the club. How's Cecile's performance at the art club? Performance? Well, she wasn't familiar with many of the techniques the rest of us were taught at a young age, but she's a quick learner and is doing really well. She has a lot of potential. She's very eager, and I'm sure she has a bright future ahead of her if she seizes the right opportunities. How well does she get along with the other club members? Louise frowns. This seems to be something she's concerned about. I wouldn't exactly call it harmonious. According to what she told me, they want her to leave the club. You could say that, yes. It puts her under a lot of pressure. Your studio rarely gets new members? That's true. It's not easy to join. After all, it represents the school to the outside world. There's an image to uphold. The admissions process is strict, even for senior students. But a transfer student got a spot. Many departments underwent personnel changes, and the new teachers did say they were planning on making the process a little less demanding. Cecile submitted her application after the recruitment campaign in September, so she was one of the first chosen under these new, more relaxed guidelines. That could be why the others are so harsh and unwelcoming towards her. Eloise looks sad when she talks about the situation. It's my fault. My failure. I'm the person responsible for the relationships between the students, and it's my job to handle differences within the club. Don't beat yourself up. The situation could be worse. Ask Eloise about her opinion on Cecile, or ask for information about the art competition. Cecile mentioned an event, a sort of competition called the Yukai Cup. You seem to be taking it very seriously. It's an art competition sponsored by the Provincial Young Artists Association. Our school always participates. It's somewhat of a tradition. We always score really well, too. Sounds as if something is very important for the school's image and reputation. Are students forced to participate? Not officially. But if you're a part of the groups that regularly win, you're somewhat forced to keep participating. It's a vanity thing. And are you one of those groups? The girl smiles tiredly. I'd rather not be. The competition between the schools is fierce, and I'm afraid it's been deemed much too important. They've turned it into a really serious thing, even though it's supposed to be a fun event. So the adults battle it out with their kids. This year's theme was suddenly changed from watercolor to oil painting. That doesn't normally happen. Everyone's on edge because of that. Sounds like it's not easy to be part of a star club. We're just trying to uphold the club's reputation. The competition is becoming more and more troublesome every year, and there's a limit to everything. At the end of the day, nobody cares about what it does to the students. They don't care about our feelings. It's just one big, silly fight for glory. I don't think it's something to be proud of. It's wasted energy. Ask Eloise about her opinion on Cecile. What do you think of her? Eloise seems a little baffled and doesn't understand my question. Since you and Cecile spend a lot of time together, you probably know each other pretty well. I'd like to hear your opinion about her, from you, as her friend. Eloise nods. She fiddles with a strand of her hair and seems to consider her words carefully. First off, she's a really kind person. Although she doesn't talk much, she's always optimistic and sees the best in people. She's very calm and never gets angry. Even though the attitude towards her is as cold as it is, Cecile avoids arguments and trouble and stays quiet. Even when the others are so mean to her? She glances at me and I can see there's a lot on her mind. On Cecile's first day at the club, I couldn't be there because I had some chores to take care of. When I got back to the studio, I saw a student I had never seen before picking up the practice materials. I was supposed to handle that. It was a lot of work, strenuous work, and the materials had to be treated with care, since some of the projects were only half finished. She just quietly and carefully put everything in its place. And said you were supposed to handle that. Yes, that day was my turn. That's why I even came back from a trip early. There's a lot of risk involved when you let someone new and inexperienced handle the paintings. It's easy to cause irreparable damage. It's mean and unjust to give a newbie that job. It's just too much responsibility. They did it on purpose, I'm sure of that. There had already been talk about Cecile being accepted into the club and it being a controversial decision. I hurried to help Cecile and told her I'd finish up. I made it clear to her that she didn't have to do this, and it wasn't something the others should make her do. She just shook her head and said, "It would be a shame to leave these paintings lying around." I'm not sure what to say. That's the kind of person Cecile is. She makes the very best of every situation. I tell her to continue. However, she's a little too shy and withdrawn. Eloise's tone is filled with concern. Although kindness is a virtue, people will consider you an easy target if you never speak up for yourself. If she never says anything, the people who bully her will never receive just punishment, and by the time she does muster up enough courage to say something, it may be too late for that. She'll never get justice that way. The others will never learn their lesson. Nobody will experience any personal growth. That's the worst possible result. That's an interesting conclusion. Sorry, I'm just rambling. No, I actually agree with you. Eloise has very strong opinions, and she stands by them. That's my conclusion after asking her so many questions. She is calm and composed and can back up all her arguments with logic. She has a very mature way of thinking, something that's probably uncommon among her peers. Still, this girl with her perfect posture, good manners, and high intellect doesn't seem to have many friends. We've been talking for over 2 hours, and yet she mentions hardly any other students by name. No wonder she cares so much for Cecile. She has somewhat of a protector's instinct and just wants her to do well. Such a weird translation. I'm sure that from a psychological perspective, trying to maintain order among the students while standing in the crossfire between them and Cecile is taking its toll on her. You've been a really big help. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. The girl humbly bows her head. Let's not forget that she was stalking Cecile, but even though she's shown nothing but sincerity. Oh my, I've completely lost track of time. Is that going to be an issue with your school? Eloise follows her eyes to look at the wall clock and can't help but smile bitterly once more. I guess that's all we can talk about for today. I'll come back some other time. She bows a little and turns around, ready to leave. Things are going really well. I should make use of that one more time. Say, Eloise. What is it? Eloise stops and looks over in my direction. Concerning your and Cecile's after-school practice, could you put that on hold for a few days? Huh? For a moment, there is tension in the air again. Eloise throws me a puzzled look, filled with more than just confusion. That might have been a little too direct. I don't want to overstep any boundaries. I have to say something. Assume the role of psychologist, Cecile's mental state. Insist on having more experience due to your age, the truth about getting along with people. Show that you care about Cecile for her own good. Avoid the topic, it's nothing. Assume the role of psychologists. I don't want to do that one. For her own good. Don't get me wrong. I just think that there's been a lot of pressure recently. Don't you think it would be better for you two to talk instead of practicing all the time? I just feel as if she's in a bad place. I'm sure she could use someone who listens to her. I see. If you think that's a good idea, then sure. I'm not sure she'll agree to it, though. No? Why is that? I'm just not sure if she's even still interested in hanging out with me. You said it yourself. We've been under a lot of pressure lately. I had the same thoughts last Tuesday, too, but Cecile didn't have time to meet up with me. She said that she had other things to do and was busy. That struck me as strange, and then I found out she was alone in the studio. I have no idea what she was doing in there. It must be hard for you, too. Everyone goes through tough times, right? The whole thing is just weird to me. As her senior and her friend, she should be able to share her problems with me. I just want to help her. I give her an understanding nod. Please take good care of her. Eloise nods once more and smiles at me. Then she leaves the store. I let out a sigh of relief. It's difficult to reason with people who are really concerned about something. There's a word for that. I can't recall the term for it right now. Enough of this. I turn off the lights again. Yeah, the way this is written, it seems like a lot of information is either assumed or is skipped. And I don't know if that's a translation error or what, but like a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, I really don't have any background or really any idea, you know, why they're asking the kind of questions they're asking and the responses that they're getting. It seems like there's like a full chapter missing that follows the lives of these people, and maybe things will make sense in the end, but right now I'm like really confused. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or not. Let me see. What else? I'm back on the second floor, and finally there's a chance to make sure what Scarlet manages to find out. It's pretty crazy to see how quickly social media platforms has changed and advanced over the past few years. The student Scarlet found out about uses the same name on multiple accounts, or on multiple platforms. Oh, like me. I think the only time I don't use the same name is when there's a character limit. She must have conducted some preliminary research using search engines to find that out. However, things aren't looking too good. There's a personal blog, but it hasn't been updated in ages and was most likely abandoned some time ago. It's hard to find any written materials by the student, even in forums where some traces should have been left. Don't you play missing now? Welcome to the Web 2.0 era, where social media platforms advance at an incredibly rapid pace. Not everyone is quick to adopt to these system changes. The student suites are very infrequent and random. Many people feel awkward using certain platforms at first, and the limited word count is an additional obstacle that might explain it. People looking for alternatives often make the switch to platforms with a more personalized touch. Need to find another message board. Suddenly, I have an idea. Tumblr is one example of the so-called blog platforms that have emerged over the past years. It isn't used a lot in this country, but several local companies claim to be good enough to keep up with it. Let's just see how good they are. Enter the name at the end of the URL. Bingo. Colored paintings decorate the page. As a member of the art club, she ended up picking a site that's hugely popular among designers and artists. Users of the site upload their own artwork, and she is no exception. Her basic skills are very solid, although not amazing. At least that's my first impression as an amateur. I'm not here to appreciate art. I open all of her updates since January and start browsing through them one by one. January 15th, today's practice. Compared to the previous few days, my thoughts are a lot clearer now. There is room for improvement in the front and background layers, as well as in the overall composition. That said, I don't know how to improve it exactly. The last time I touched watercolors was as a junior, and I was never really good at it. But I guess I was okay. I did my best anyway. February 1st, this is the finished piece from the last practice session. Even after carefully matching the colors, there are still some obvious flaws. The student representative won, that's what the rumors say. Although the results hadn't been announced yet, she was already preparing to celebrate in the studio. I don't know how to feel. Although I wasn't arrogant enough to think I could outright win, her painting isn't award-winning material either. The atmosphere in the club today was very unpleasant, and the teacher seemed to go out of his way to avoid getting involved. I wonder what tomorrow will bring. March 17th. Sorry, no updates for 2 months. The club has been quite a mess recently, and we have had much fewer classes than usual. There was an intense argument between 2 club members, and the rest of us were too afraid to intervene. At the end of the day, both of them were equally responsible for what happened. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, please don't comment on it below. Next time I'll probably show you some random stuff I've been working on. April 20th. Just a few illustrations this time. What do you think is a good name for this piece? A lot has piled up. When I look at it, I can't help but feel kind of proud of myself. I don't know if I can continue painting. How do you guys manage to keep yourselves motivated? I think I'm losing the spark. It's become more of an annoyance than something I love doing. May 7th, 2 sketches. Sure enough, a hard pen seems to work better. I received many friendly messages after my last post. Thank you for your concern. I'm going to keep posting updates. I think it's too early to give up on this. I feel motivated again. In fact, it has something to do with a change in the art club. The way it happened wasn't the best, but the outcome was unexpectedly good. Maybe that's just how it had to be. By the way, the name Twilight Tea is really great. June 28th. Busy with a lot of final exam stuff. No new updates, just saying hi. One of us suddenly quit the club. I guess we didn't realize just how close we were to graduating. Things were getting serious. I don't understand how someone could quit now. We're all in the same stressful position. I think quitting is kind of weak. July 13th. A new piece I drew at home. I tried to change up the pattern, but I'm not happy with it. I've talked about spatial perspective before. I don't seem to be very good at it. How on earth do you come up with a scene concept? Can anyone help me out? July 14th. 2 more. That's it. My mood's bad. The weather's bad. My mom hasn't returned from Cambodia yet. I don't think she follows me on here, so I'm asking you, how would you nicely convince someone to come back home? I don't want to overstep any boundaries, but I'm a little pissed off, to be honest. August 21st. The recomposition version. For the first time, I feel like I've mastered it. I had a lot of private stuff going on, so I didn't really practice at all during summer vacation. It's nice to be able to get some summer assignments done. Ultimately, the police didn't get involved in the incident in July, but it did take up a lot of time, and it was exhausting. There are some things about it that I can't really discuss. I feel kind of bad, and I owe a lot to you guys. On an unrelated note, if any of your local friends spot a group of people wearing black, covering their faces, tell them to stay away. They may not intend to hurt you, but if you get too curious, who knows what kind of trouble you could get into. September 2nd. Another one finished. Maybe this type of painting is my strength. My teacher seems to think so as well. I haven't studied Monet much, but it's similar to his style. Space, structure, hierarchy, perspective. It's all the same problem, really. After you've mastered different perspectives, your understanding of the scene's environment improves immediately. I'll try the Battle of Troy next while that mindset is still fresh in my head. I still miss that smell. Should I try it again? Huh. I don't think logic applies to the last painting. I don't think it's supposed to make sense. She didn't mention names, but there's only a handful of people who could have gotten her so riled up. If that's true, I'm worried about her statements. Knowing what I know now, we should have prepared more thoroughly before investigating the school. It doesn't make a lot of sense to think about the past now. It's more important to figure out how to proceed. I should go over everything with Scarlet tomorrow. That's all I can find out for now. Time to go back to my regular job. Huh? I finished reading Trail of the Missing Fish. I'll return tomorrow, okay? Of course, anytime. Thanks. See you then. Have you gathered anything new from reading it? Sadly not. I still haven't made any progress. Many of the descriptions in the book do match up, but it doesn't change the fact that it's all based on hearsay. There are often different explanations for the same thing. If you can't pinpoint the fishing village's exact location, shouldn't that be confirmation you're looking for? I tried to find it on my phone's map app. I couldn't find any place in the south with that name. The location given by the author is much too vague. It's pretty common for small fishing villages like that to just slowly disappear over time, especially with more and more people moving to bigger cities. I probably got my hopes up too much, thinking that this book would help me. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've caused you. By the way, have you heard from Eloise? She came to see me today, but I went back to the dorm and told her I wasn't feeling well. How did she react to that? She didn't seem taken aback by it, but she went home really early today. She usually stays a little longer and even cleans up after everyone else. Maybe something unexpected happened. Huh? It's probably nothing. It's just a guess. What's the deal? Did you find out anything else these past 2 days? It's hard to find out more at school. Classes are going as usual. It's midterms and the teachers are nervous. We don't have a lot of free time. Did you have any more strange dreams or visions? No, I haven't used any incense in the last 2 days. Smart decision. About the art club. Have there been any new developments in the art club these past 2 days? Nothing's changed. The atmosphere is tense and the mountains of materials are already piling up. We're starting to prepare for the competition next semester. That's an exaggeration, right? I recall paint and cows being very expensive. Yeah, you're right about that, but the supplies we need are all paid by the school. Wow, that school sure lives up to its reputation. They're taking this really serious if they're backing the project with so much money. They didn't want me to take part in the project at first, but Eloise stood up for me and the others agreed to it eventually. That sounds tough. Different topic. That's, so that's how it is. I'm a little hesitant to ask, but have you made any progress? I did some research, yes. I haven't come to a conclusion yet, though. But we can't force anything. Some things just take time. You're right. Even if I asked Eloise directly, she'd probably just joke around. I still don't feel comfortable about this incense you've been telling me about. If you can, try to get your hands on a little more of this lilac grass. If we're careful about it, we'll be able to avoid making things worse at least. Since I can't do it myself, I'll find a way to get someone to analyze the ingredients. I'll do my best. Anything that can cause hallucinations this intense is dangerous, no exceptions. So, even if Eloise asks you, don't make any rash decisions. At least wait until I'm done with my part of the investigation, okay? Yeah, understood. Thank you for your concern. Huh, interesting. Like I said, a lot's being said, but I don't really understand like a lot of the contents of that conversation. And it may be just translation errors. But I feel like there's a lot of pieces missing. I feel like people are talking about things, and we're just like in the middle without all the background information. Again, we'll see. Maybe it's going to work out in the end, and it'll be like some dramatic revelation at the end of the day. At least that's my hope. Anyway, this is audap, and you've been watching Hermitage, Strange Case Files on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.